Welcome to the all-new updated UlforceVeedramon gameplay guide. It's nice to be back with the fastest Royal Knight of all, and today I'm going to show you guys how to play this deck and how fast it can to make so many swings into your opponent's security. In our first matchup, we're facing against Digimon, which also got new support, which is pretty strong, pretty decent as well, because they're able to spawn a ton of tokens. And in this matchup, we are going to be going first. So particularly, I decided to go for Surge and trying to find some pieces as much as I can. Generally, my recommendation when it comes to this stack-based building deck is to try to find your lower end pieces to ensure you can climb up, and eventually as you climb into your level 6, that's when you have to make sure to have access into your full line. So here we're sitting okay. We are missing a few pieces, but we can confidently go ahead and continue our search. I love the new veemon, which lets us digivolve into any Veedramon in its name for reduced cost of 1. And now with that promo Veedramon, we get to search double hits, which is incredible value. Here, we can decide to see how we can kind of play around this to remove their board and control a little bit. It's still a little bit early on the stage of the game, so I feel like I have enough time, because once I gather enough tamers, Ulforce is just going to pop off like crazy. Right there, I was checking with the Arata Sonata that they can only gain a memory if there is a unidentified trait, Digimon specifically, in the trash. Digimon card, as a matter of fact. And therefore, having the Sumemon in there, it's a Digi-Egg card. It is considered as a Digimon in the trash, but it is not considered as a Digimon card. Specifically, a Digimon card. You need to have a Digimon card in order to gain memory. So there, I was able to bounce off the Keramon there and clear the board a little bit. The opponent still has one Keramon to work with here, and they can Digivolve into Kurosari, playing out the Memory Setter Neo Arata Sonata. And with that, it's going to allow them to redirect attacks. But that's okay on our side, because as long as we continue to unsuspend over and over more times than they can redirect, we should be able to establish the advantage to go for massive swings and damage into the security. So here we're going to continue to cycle through our egg and digivolve here. We're not going to attack because just in case they could be playing like a Digimon ace. And if they do blast, they can easily delete something up to 7 play costs or less, which is what our AVAULT is. Ideally, I like to have the AVAULT suspended beforehand to gain the maximum value when I go into Ulforce. But since I have a mental training, might as well, I'm going to have to use it to preemptively go into Ulforce first. I'm not going to be able to bounce their Infirmon just because it has that protection, which is the new one as well, which is pretty good in this particular matchup. So we're just going to start attacking if we can, chip a little bit. That's good. I don't want to give the opponent any potential value anymore just because I know I can't finish it off just particularly in this turn just yet. So I can wait for one more turn and see how it goes. Now the scary thing is that if they have Veedramon, depending on which one, the opponent could set up a offensive and defensive wide board out of nowhere. So it looks like they're going to go for the training here, which tells me they are missing a Veedramon at the moment, which revealed the ace which we talked about earlier, but they didn't choose to grab it. Now I think here they maybe should have just grabbed it even if they don't have a Veedramon to go into, especially because that they could just digivolve into the ace version and establish some tokens. Although the stack is favorable for us on their end because they can't de-digivolve, they can't really pop us and interact too much, but at least they can establish like some tokens and maybe start redirecting some attacks with Arata Sonata because they can build up that kind of board. Either way, I'm going to try and take advantage at this particular moment and try to finish the game before that even happens, because the opponent is going to be pretty set up with so many resources on their end, which can be really tricky to deal with later on. So I'm going to go push out the promo Veedramon. I'm going to go into Arrow V to search and find a grab a tamer. I can swing with Ulforce first, and I'm not going to use any of my arenas to sort of like gain any value at the moment, just because I can unsuspend, and as I unsuspend, I get to bounce their Infirmon, which probably could have allowed us to bounce their Digimon ace even if they try to get into it, but they would have protection to sort of play around it either, but there's not going to be much other interaction because we can continue to push through. Attack once more again, and then now we'll bounce that arena, which maybe it might have been better to grab that first to give it jamming just in case. But now when we go into our second Ulforce, by having the double Ulforce, we can unsuspend so many times, which is absolutely insane. Here at this moment, instead of using the first arena, I could have just swung with the Ulforce first, swung with my second Ulforce, and then I continue to get double unsuspend. But here it's just absolutely overkill at this point. I don't think the opponent has anything that can stop us and try to kind of sustain anymore because of the power of Ulforce is just incredibly fast with the attacks when they come in like that, and we finish the game off. For this match, we're facing up against Veedramon, which got a lot of new support cards in EX9. Generally, they have really good protection as they can climb up into a big stack. Very scary removal and a lot of toolbox effects that we cannot actually anticipate, which can surprise us at times. Either way, we are going second, and then I decide to keep this hand. Same similar concept, try to build into my stack. I have a 3, 4, 5 to work with and a blue memory boost to search off of, which is going to be really good to help me fetch and find pieces that I may need and then eventually climb into their stack. And there I also have an Ulforce to work with, so not a big problem. All I have to do is gather tamers, and if we're able to make multiple unsuspends, ensuring that we're stronger in DP, higher than the Veedramon stack, we should be able to overwhelm them with the amount of barrage attacks, which is what our goal is. Looks like they're kind of slowing down already at the moment. They don't have a rookie to work with. A very unfortunate whiff on the analog youth just to trash away like tamers, and not being able to trash level 5s is going to be tricky. So either way, we're going to try to take advantage and try to speed this up as quickly as possible, because I want to start attacking them before they establish Veedramon on the board, because once it's on the board, it's going to be difficult to deal with. So I'm going to go into Ulforce here first, using the arrow V to try to find tamers, attack, and then being able to use one digivolving effects of the arena by suspending her so that we can use Ulforce to play another tamer for free, and then unsuspend and also gain memory back at the same time. And now we can swing in with blocker and evade, and I'm trying to draw as many cards with the V-Tamer tie as much as possible. I love the new Wanyamon egg from the tournament pack as well, because it allows us to draw more cards as we are playing down our tamers. And here I felt like, okay, I can't OTK for sure, you know, it's a bit too soon, so why not just try to play something and set up for a little bit for potential lethal in the next turn. And since they start at 3 memory anyways, I try to play out this Veemon to search and maybe hoping I can grab a tamer plus something within the line, and then I have an extra body to help me actually deal an additional attack that I need in the following turn if they're not able to stabilize and stay in the game right here. But the thing is, Veedramon is pretty scary. Once they have the 2 analog man set up, this is what they can do. They can play out their version 5 stuff simply by trashing any version 5 or cyborg, so that they can reduce the play cost by 2, making it 5 cost. And then now by playing the Metal Tyrannomon, they suspend the other analog man, the new one from EX9, to tuck a source, and also using Metal Tyrannomon to tuck another face down source, de-digivolving 2 and deleting our Veemon at the same time. And now they're actually going to clear our board by digivolving into Veedramon and then tucking in Megadramon. And since they have so many face down sources, they can easily just pop our Veedramon like no problem, and we're forced to start from scratch all over again, which, yeah, Veedramon is pretty scary. Assembly is not the only way for them to climb up into their stack no matter what. But even I have to rebuild all over again, this isn't much of a problem just because I have all the pieces I need to climb up into a line that I want to, and I don't feel like the opponent has lethal on us just yet, even if they're able to unsuspend, because they don't seem to have like multiple checks and all that. And only if they can go into Chaos Dramon X, then possibly they can redo this. So here they're gonna go ahead and swing and actually slide in a War Growl X, which is security attack +1. They're not going to have any on play effects, but that's fine. It's going to go for 2 checks, hitting into arena, which is going to be a bit of value for us. But this is where I feel like they made a little bit of mistake. Maybe they should have swung with their taper first instead of actually the Veedramon, because if they plan on unsuspending, they could have got 1 extra check in, and this would have put us to 0 security. And if they have any other pieces, they could have actually potentially finished us off right here. And with that, the Tapermon is deleted, but they don't really get to cycle too much either, because it looks like they don't have level 5s to work with. So that tells me with the top deck right here as well, because of Supreme Connection, they have to put everything back to the top. They are going to be lagging a little bit behind if they don't have level 5s for the rest of the couple of turns too. So here they're going to establish another BT11 analog man, which is going to give them additional redirect there. But again, they have pieces that they can potentially go into another Veedramon if they need to. So we're going to push out and start attacking if we can as well. I know I have to push out the Veedramon. I have to address that Veedramon on the board somehow one way or another, because in the next turn they can pretty much just finish us off with 2 hits, unsuspend, and so on. So we have to go into this newer Arrow Veedramon. I like the new one because we can get to unsuspend with its inherit effect, and so you may effect as well, which is kind of neat, and it's all turns. But the only downside is that we're not able to suspend it beforehand, so that we're not going to gain the optimal value of Ulforce here, because ideally I would like to swing with the Arrow V first Perhaps we may have jamming or something, but they have redirect, which my DP threshold is not going to be enough to run over the Veedramon. So now I Digivolve into Ulforce. I am going to try to pump it up by extra 1000 DP with the V-Tamer tie. I'm going to attempt to swing over that Veedramon because I feel like I may not have enough attacks to finish this just yet, because I need a total of like taking down their 4 security, 1 more to finish them off, and I have to play around 2 redirects potentially. So I'm going to go ahead and try to remove their Veedramon. Now I think that we made a little mistake which we didn't catch during the game right here, because when I unsuspend the UlforceVeedramon, I should have attempted to bounce the Veedramon, which have depleted 2 sources underneath it, and then go for the attack, which they have to deplete another 2 sources, which in theory the Veedramon should only have 0 sources at this point. But it doesn't matter anyways, because we end up removing the Veedramon no matter what, and we still went for the same play either way. We're going to continue to attack into it with higher DP and continue to unsuspend. And even if they try to keep it alive here, we still can finish it off with the Ulforce if we need to. So I'm trying to see how I want to finish the turn off of this. I want to get rid of that. I have to. So I'm going to go for the attack, and then I'm considering either to play out another card just to set up a little bit, but I'm also going to return the Rena back to the hand while I'm attacking to give it jamming, just because I can recycle that Rena, which is going to be really good for us. We are going to lose the memory setter, but that's not a problem because I don't feel like I really need it. So I'm going to go into Ulforce X, which I feel like I could have held it off a little bit, but I kind of felt like they may have de-digivolving, which can be tricky for us because then I don't want them to de-digivolve us and they'll have to try to find into another stack again. So I'm going to spend the Ulforce X itself and make an additional attack and try to pressure as much as I can from there, and then play a mental training to pass turn and see where it goes. The opponent only has several cards in their hand, not a lot. I think it's like only like 3, which they're not going to be able to possibly like go all the way through and try this. They have attack of heavy mobile Digimon, but they apparently don't have a cyborg for them to toss away in order to get that rush, blitz, and attack right here, which is rather unfortunate. So they're going to use the Supreme Connection delay, which they have to establish a level 6 on the board. They have to get the Veedramon out no matter what, because if they don't, I'm going to continue to attack with them again and again by suspending Rena to reuse the when digivolving effect of Ulforce X to unsuspend itself. So they need something on the board to redirect the attacks, even if it's not strong enough in terms of DP. That is unfortunate on their side because they need that kind of DP. If they don't have the DP, we can easily just run over it, and Ulforce is generally not super strong when it comes to that. But thanks to the new BT22 memory set arena, that helps us to get those DP thresholds that we need. And speaking of that, then maybe it would have been nicer if we start our memory at 3, but since we unsuspend here, we actually gain a bunch of memory by activating the arena's effects as well as the effects in our stack, and we're going to attempt to bounce the Veedramon, which they're going to immediately have to deplete 2 sources right off the bat. I'm going to suspend the tide to draw a card to see what I can grab. I'm going to go ahead and put extra 1000 DP. With that, Ulforce X is going to be 13k, being higher than Veedramon, and then we can start attacking as much as we can, forcing their security down to 0, as well as forcing them to start redirecting. We're going to suspend the arena to activate the when digivolving effect again to unsuspend. We're also getting that additional memory, which we should have gained at the moment when we unsuspended during our unsuspend phase, but that we caught it there, so it's all good. The thing is, at this moment, I still don't see that we can potentially go for lethal just yet. And that's because we don't have enough BT11 arenas to use to continue our Ulforce X unsuspending. And this is where I kind of thought like, okay, yeah, maybe going to Ulforce X that previous few turns was a little bit too ambitious, where I probably should have just kept it as a regular Ulforce, because if I did, then I could have unsuspended more and pressure the attacks and actually finish it right here. But either way, I feel like we'll still be in a decent position just because I'm going to keep attacking and then see how they react. We do give them another analog man right here, but knowing that they only have 3 cards in their hand, they have barely any resources to really make a big play in the following turn, I feel like. But here, I'm just going to go ahead and attack. They have to trash the 2 sources, they have to redirect there, and then I'm just going to hard drop this Veemon, which I'm considering because I can potentially climb into another stack and get rid of that Veedramon once and for all. And this is where I can kind of showcase you guys, maybe it's a good idea to actually have that ace, because in this situation, it actually helps. So I'm going to play out the Veemon. I'm going to use mental training instead of the cost reduction of evoing into the Veedramon, because I want to be at 1 memory, because I'm then going to use the other mental training to digivolve into the Arrow V in order to keep and stay in my turn. Again, I still need to get rid of this Veedramon, because if I don't, I can't defend myself in the following turn. I don't have blocker as well, as a matter of fact. I have the DP buffs, I have all the offensive stuff that I need in order to try and attempt to close the game, but I still can't at the moment, so I have to get rid of this Veedramon no matter what. Now the thing is, if I go into the BT11 Ulforce, I'm just going to end up bouncing it to the hand, which is not really going to deal with my problem because now they're just going to drop it back with assembly in the following turn. They could just have all the amount of redirects that they have again with the triple analog mans. So in order to deal with this, since they have no more protection in their stack, I'm going to Digivolve into the Ulforce Ace, and the new Ulforce Ace lets us bottom deck the Veedramon so they won't have access into it again in this turn, so they can't bring it back out, and this can help secure our win con even closer. So the opponent is going to push out with Siako. They are going to try to swing with it, which we can't stop them whatsoever, but this is also where we got kind of lucky, to be honest, because if the Siako got deleted, they've been able to cycle and draw through cards. Again, we know they don't have enough level 5s to go through and cycle and do anything else. And the fact that a Siako survived, they weren't able to draw and trash cards. And if they're not able to do that, they can't find further pieces to go for a potential out. Like we saw, they have attack with heavy mode Digimon, but they just can't use it, unfortunately, because they don't have another target to toss away to go for the blitz rush attack. So here they're gonna have to hard drop Chaos Dramon from EX3 and Tuck 3 sources, which is gonna de-digivolve our Ulforce Ace stack. They can gain a bunch of memory back right here, but that's the best they can really do, it looks like, to suspend the analog man, to gain 2 and tuck sources underneath if they choose to do so. But here we are just gonna unsuspend and also gain a ton of memory off of Ulforce X. We do bounce their Siakomon back, and now the only thing standing in our way from our victory is just one big stack of Chaos Dramon, which is not a problem for us to remove since we have more than enough swings. This should be just easy right there. So I'm trying to see, like, okay, is there anything I need to kind of play around or maybe try to be wary of just in case of any contingency plans? So I'm gonna go ahead to just Digivolve up a little bit and scramble and go into Veedramon, which is not gonna do too much there. Honestly, I should just start attacking. I'm gonna use Tide to pump it up by DP, use the other V-Tamer Tide to draw a card, and now ensuring that my DP is higher than Chaos Dramon, they can start redirecting, but they can't protect themselves enough anyways because they need to trash level 5 sources specifically in order to get rid of that. So we're able to attack once more with Ulforce X, winning the game. Next match, we're facing off against Gaiomon, which also got a little bit of support with the new Rise Gray, as well as Yuko and a Gaiomon itself. So we're going to see how this one goes. Although all the matches that we showcased so far with Ulforce, it seems to be very like smooth sailing. We're able to like find everything that we need. But I want to show you guys an example of a match that don't be like me sometimes, don't greed. And also things to look out for as you're playing Ulforce, because there are times you're not able to actually push through. And this is going to be a good example of that, because here I'm going to be like, okay, I'm going to go for searching as much as I can. Things are looking good right off the bat. I'm gathering everything I need. I have tamers, I have boost set up, and really it's just about who can get to their stack kind of like first. Can the Gaiomon sustain and stop us from attacking into them, or are they able to control the board before we're able to do so? But anyways, I have a Veedramon to work with, and here this is where I'm going to go ahead and start putting the pedal to the gas as much as I can so that I can try to search with Veedramon and hopefully get a tamer. Now the thing is, sometimes you're not that lucky, you just don't get anything off the search, which is rather unfortunate, but I'm still going to push through because that's my only method of playing at the moment. Especially, I don't have a rookie to Digivolve in the back, which is actually going to become very, very crucial later on. So far, I'm still going to go ahead and attack with Ulforce, establish my arenas on the board. This is going to end up giving the opponent a little bit of like value in terms of like giving them a Yuko like that. It is kind of unfortunate. And then now we have like triple arenas, which is nice, but we need like an Ulforce X to get the most value of that in the following turn as well. And then because I don't have anything to really continue to push through, which ideally, like I mentioned, it would be nice to have a rookie so that I can Digivolve and climb up in the back and establish a second stack if I need to, because that would be the best game plan. But now we're sitting in this position with only 4 cards in our hand. We are completely out of gas, and that is gonna really bite us back later on, and you guys will see, because the opponent pushes out with their Agu. They're gonna go into the Gray for free because they have a tie. Now they can go into Gray X, they gain memory off of that as well. They got lots to work with, so they can climb all the way up to their 5-6 if they need to, and pretty much get into Gaiomon this turn. They go into Rise Gray, they're not going to be able to play a Tamer off of that, which is totally fine for them because they have Raid, and they're going to try to attack into our Ulforce, and they should have enough DP buffs within their stack and with Yuko along together, and also getting Digimon Effect Immunity for this particular turn. They're actually going to swing over our Ulforce. Now, the nice thing that we have is that we have Evade, so that we can kind of like protect ourselves for that battle. So we can try to stay there for a little bit. And if this stack survives in the next turn, we could potentially continue to push through and maybe try to take down that Rise Grade as a matter of fact. Either way, I don't have a lot of cards in my hand, which can still be tricky in order to finish the game off because I need Tamers in order to play the Tamers. My Ulforce will only be able to unsuspend that way. But here they go into Gaiomon, the promo one, which is going to force our Ulforce to attack. Now, at the start of our turn, we're going to unsuspend, and a lot of our effects are going to activate, going to gain a ton of memory, which is nice, and we're going to force them to bounce. But they have the Greymon protection from there, and with that, we have to force the attack. They don't have the protection from Yuko anymore, so they don't have the extra DP buff, but they're still stronger and higher DP than we are, so that we simply just block this attack, and then they trash our security, and our entire Ulforce stack is now gone. And man, even with like 5 memory, we are really stuck here. Since they have no protection, I think this is a good opportunity to just hard drop the Ulforce Ace, and then I could just bottom deck the Gaiomon stack anyways, and then force them to rebuild all over again, which is not a problem for me because in the following turn, I could try to go for some lethal swings, potentially. They go for a red memory boost, they have to reestablish and try to reset up because they don't have anything to push out just yet. They just hatched this particular turn, and my game plan in the next turn is reflectively very greedy, which I shouldn't have done, but I will explain to you guys my thought process as much as possible because I felt like I could win right there. Because if I don't feel like I try to go for the win, they might go for too much advantage and value there in the following turn with the clapback, and there's no way we can come back from that whatsoever just because we don't have a rookie. But here, I felt like, okay, if I attack with the Ulforce Ace, I get to unsuspend when attacking and I gain a ton of memory. So by stacking the scramble with the Veedramon, I can Digivolve into ARO-V, try to find Tamer, and then Digivolve into Ulforce, and then possibly try to keep turn if possible, maybe by them having the memory, unsuspend and make multiple attacks and survive, and then I finish them off from there. But like you guys can see, we ran into an Omni X, which Ulforce Ace is gonna get deleted by the battle, and then we give Ace Overflow. And that, we just end with a Veedramon on the board. That can't do anything because we don't have any further follow-up play. I need to draw cards, which I should have really done was actually stack the Veemon to the top, Digivolve it in the back. I had a level 4, I had a level 5, I had another level 6. I could have probably tried to take it slow from there. But at this point, there's still no rookie, and there's absolutely no way out of this. So we just hard drop the Veedra, pass it back to them, and this is where that one single-handedly greedy play that I made really took a turn on us. And this is why you guys should always try to go for the safer play, because now all they have to do is go into Gaiomon, they can raid, Yuko once again with DP buff, pierce all our checks, and Agumon finishes off against us. Draconic Blade is now live on the AVAULT Store, which is one of the most epic drops I ever released, and the first 50 people to order the full collection will get an exclusive memory marker during this time only. As always, thank you guys so much for watching. You guys have a great day, great night, wherever you are. See you next video, and this is AVAULT signing out.